You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show on this 8th day of May. I hope you're well this morning. Thank you for being part of the 702 family today. And all the best with your plans vandag. We start the show with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. That's the number you can dial on the open line this hour. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Here's a question for you. Do you know your bank charges? Do you know how much you are paying for your bank fees? And do you know what you are paying for? And I'm asking that because the Financial Sector Conduct Authority has detected significant disparities in the fees charged by different banks for the same or even relatively similar products or services. The Business Day is reporting that the FSCA has now embarked on a project to assess the transactional fee practices across registered banks to determine whether further regulatory or policy interventions are required. Thanks to the EFF that wrote to the Finance Minister Enoch Kotongwana asking if he was investigating what they said are charges. And if we're being honest, there's a lack of adequate disclosure by some banks about these fees, and there's also poor understanding by us as customers. Some of us just pay. We don't know how much we're paying for our bank fees, and we don't even know what we are paying for. So if you are one of those who actually knows this is how much I pay monthly for my bank fees, there's also a few people who know what that fee goes to, right? Like, is it going to perhaps your lounge access? Is it going towards a private banker, if that's what you're paying for? So let me know where your thinking is on that. On 011-883-0702. Do you know how much your bank fees are and what you are paying for? Especially on your main account. Yeah? Are you paying for a private bank? Are you paying for lounge access as part of your fee? Do you know how that fee is actually structured? WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Do you remember the SAPS members who were part of the Presidential Protection Services, who acted like thugs and hooligans? Well, guess what? The SAPS has officially acquitted all 8 VIP Protection Unit officers who were filmed assaulting civilians on the N1 back in 2023. We spoke about this incident when it happened. And I don't know how this is not a final insult to the victims. And I suppose it is also a warning to you as a member of the public, as Ian Cameron actually said, that police brutality will definitely be protected behind closed doors. How do you explain letting these officers scot-free? Because the SAPS is now telling us that, we're studying this report. And this is my fear, that police are sometimes always going to protect themselves. We have seen the video. There was national outrage. There was physical trauma suffered by the victims. And yet the SAPS still says, we're clearing all of you. And that is so weird. And you cannot want to justify that, but the process has dragged and has been delayed for so long. And those are the loopholes that they're always going to use sometimes, is just delay, because they know that they can use that then as reason for letting the officer scot-free. And that is just unacceptable. I do not understand how we justify that. Remember those officers also who have been arrested and are also facing disciplinary charges for helping Tiger. Tiger is that chap who was the man who, what was that mining story, Abel, where illegal miners, Stilfontein. Remember illegal miners who were in Stilfontein were refusing to come out. It was a story we spoke a lot about last year. There's a man who was at the center of that, and his name is Tiger. His name is Tiger. That's the kingpin. The police described him as a kingpin, and yet the police helped him escape. Other people who, as soon as they came out of the mine, were arrested. Not this guy who's a kingpin. The police knew who he is, and they assisted him. He escaped. He's probably sipping on some nice cocktails somewhere on a beach, enjoying life because he was assisted by police officers. And I worry that even those officers are likely to be protected, especially if there's someone higher up who said, you have to make sure that you protect that man. And that's exactly what we seemingly are dealing with here. How do you explain that with the evidence that was there, where members of the public are assaulted like that by protectors who are behaving like hooligans and thugs, are going to escape scot-free? It just boggles my mind. What does that communicate to you? The next time you are being bulldozed and bullied by VIP protectors on the road, is there even hope for you?
Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
So, the bank charges, right? And what you are paying for, and are you even aware of how your fees are structured? I want you to give us a call on 011 883 0702. So I was looking at some of the bank charges, and you can see that, you know, there are some differences in the amounts, but sometimes the services that are being offered are almost similar. I mean, for instance, when you look at the Standard Bank, okay, let's start maybe with FNB, for instance. They have an account called Easy Zero. There are no charges there. They have an account called Easy Pay, and, you know, the price increases can be found on, I'm referencing now Business Tech, because what they did is, when they were looking at bank charges of the different banks, they are allocating and showing you how much each account costs on a monthly basis. So for instance, Easy Pay You, R6.50. This is now FNB. Fusion Aspire, for 2024-2025 financial year, it's 115 Rand. And if you have an affluent account, that's a private client, you pay about 455 Rand. Private wealth, that's about 595 Rand. So that was for FNB. But do you actually know where that 500 Rand actually goes to? Like, do you understand how that fee is structured? And do you even know what you are paying for? With Standard Bank, for instance, they also have their Prestige Evolve, for instance, where the fee was about 240 Rand. I think that was 2024-2025 financial year. Private banking, 460 Rand. And then professional banking, 280 Rand. Professional Evolve, 270 Rand. You know, Access account, 7 Rand 50. So there are obviously different accounts in one bank. But do we actually know? And I know I'm one of the people, I will be surprised when I actually realize how much I pay for my bank fees, and also what I understand to be the benefits that come with that fee. Do you know that? Do you not? 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let's start with you, Senzo, in Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Hi, Kemnat, Wena.
No, I'm very well. No, it's Clement. Yes, these things of banks, those guys, they take. Especially these reputable banks, they take. You know, last week, a friend of mine was they didn't get their salaries on time. So, you know when debit orders are supposed to go through?
Yeah.
And when they go through and they find that there's no money, 50 rand per debit order. Lapo Mundi is got maybe 5 debit orders. Calculate that, how much is it? They have to pay that. Plus, when the money comes in, now the debit orders are going to go through again and they are going to charge again for a successful debit order.
50 rand per debit order? That's a lot,
50
though.
rand. 50 rand. If it fails, you get charged 50 rand.
Hey,
so imagine how many debit you see. So, Clement, and I sometimes look at my statement. There's a service fee, there's account fee. I know, man, and this thing does not make sense. These guys are eating. These guys are eating. And these big banks, at least there's this one. This bank for almost everyone. That one is much better because they don't charge you for a bounce debit. Or maybe they charge you 3 rand, 350. But the other banks, 50 rand. Clement.
Yeah, that's hectic. Yeah, Senzo. Imagine how many, when you have several debit orders and 50 rand for each. But isn't it interesting that some of us don't pay much attention to even our statements? I mean, when last did you sit down and look at your bank statement and actually look at, okay, where does this amount go to? Why did I pay this? And where does this fee go to? Hey? Zamklaka, you are calling from Alexandra. You want to talk about these police officers who have now been acquitted. Good morning.
Yes, morning, Clement. This all goes to the ethical orientation, not of a department, because when we speak about departments, we are really having this abstract animal as if it's not populated by human beings. This thing was a predetermined outcome. Don't tell me that the minister did not know what the outcome of this was, because the accounting officer in this instance, the National Police Commissioner, would have authorized who the presiding officer would be over this case. And that presiding officer was clearly given a mandate. Straight, we don't care what the findings are. I mean, the evidence is these officers are going to walk scot-free. Because here's the political association I make with this. If we condemn these police officers from a political point of view, what loyalty are we going to have from these officers as politicians whose lives and private secrets are dependent on these people? These people know some of the darkest things that we do in corners. And we have to protect them. So that was expected. And lastly, the only way we can get rid of this is to get rid of the scum that is the ANC from this country. Thank you, Clement.
Yeah, Samplaka, thank you so much for your thoughts. I remember Paul Mashatile also condemned the behavior, didn't he? I mean, yes, these are people who literally are the bone of protection for our politicians, especially our number 1 and number 2 citizens. No one is suggesting here that we need weak officers that are not going to appreciate that responsibility that they have to protect our politicians, especially the president and the deputy president, well, in this context. But surely they don't have carte blanche to do whatever they want. They must still operate within the law. They can't go and behave like hooligans. And many of us have been bullied on the roads by these guys. And that's precisely the point. They know that even though publicly they're going to be condemned, they know that they're going to receive protection from within. How are they being allowed to escape scot-free with no accountability whatsoever? We now look towards the courts, that maybe some accountability will arise from that. But this is just so disappointing. It's really shocking. And I can't wait to speak to one of the officials in the SAPS, because I'm interested to know, how do they even justify this? It's 24 after 9.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
27 after 9.
Good morning, Clement. Great show always. Clement, after you check your bank statement, it's how you get heart attack. So last month I was checking my bank statement. I found out that I'm paying 250 every month on a savings account, and another 80 rand for service. That's a service fee. So yeah, the banks, they're deducting a lot. They're deducting a lot of money. So it's like every month I'm paying like 230 for my services.
Hi, Clemens. Yeah, bank charges. I used to be with this bank and I had to terminate the marriage because they were charging ridiculous amounts, and on several occasions I approached them, but they were not giving satisfactory answers. So yeah, we ended up the relationship. Yeah, while we are on that, I just needed some clarification in terms of letting someone use your bank accounts. What are the implications, especially with SARS and any other things that I might not be aware of? I know you are discussing bank charges, but I thought while we are on this, I can just pass this through you, maybe for discussion now or later. Thank you so much.
Yeah. What do you mean by someone using your bank account? So what, are they using it for transactions, or they maybe someone has used your bank account for other transactions where money is coming into your bank account but it belongs to somebody else? If you can just maybe explain that, and I can try and get someone to explain what the implications are for SARS.
Clemza, when it comes to bank fees, Clemza, I've got an easy pay as you use, R6.50 at most, including my debit orders. If it was a busy month, actually, no, not if it was a busy month. On average, I pay about 20 Rand a month in bank fees. I don't need a black card, even though they've been calling and asking me to upgrade to a blank card. I don't need one. I don't need a banker. They are useless. They don't shop for you. I don't see the purpose of having one. So I just pay 20 Rand a month and I keep my normal card without a name on it. And yeah, I do everything myself anyway. So swipes are free. Online payments are free. Internet banking is free. The only thing I'm getting charged for are my 3 debit orders, and that's it. And my monthly fee of R6.50. I don't need in contact messages which they charge for.
Clement, good morning. Look, I've been saying this, I'll say it again. We are having a problem of accountability. You know, when we have to hold officials accountable, that's where our problem is. And then this goes from all levels, from grassroots level up until even the president of the country. So once we can sort that thing out, I think we will have our problem resolved. Otherwise, we will continue to talk about this lack of accountability each and every day of our lives, be it at the parliament, the police, the military, the lawyers who are ripping off, claimants of RAF or anywhere else. We are still going to have this particular problem. Joseph Rosley.
Yeah, Joseph, it's really quite disappointing. I'll bring in Ian Cameron, who is the chair of the Portfolio Committee on Police in Parliament, because he's just equally outraged by this decision to acquit the VIP protection officers by the SAPS. I saw the DA as well. There are other parties that have responded to this decision by the SAPS. It's quite shocking. How do you follow all these internal SAPS disciplinary processes, and there's evidence that exists that I would imagine was used to assess this case, evidence of a video that was filmed of these officers brutally assaulting civilians on the N1 highway, and as the police, you just decide, oh, let's exonerate them. What does that say? And I think it's a broader culture of the lack of accountability within the SAPS. Remember Wally Rode, who is the head of security for the president. There were questions raised even by the public protector on how he conducted himself during the Phala Phala investigation. Do you think anything happened to him? No. They are now police officers who helped assist an illegal minor kingpin. They helped him to escape. There's a disciplinary process underway. Do you think those people are going to be held accountable? They're protecting each other. And it's quite scary coming from people who are supposed to protect us. It's 9:32.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Oh, it's 22 minutes now before 10 o'clock. It's the 702 open line, and we're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Part of what we're talking about this morning on the open line is about the SAPS members who were part of the Presidential Protection Services for Deputy President Paul Mashatile. They behaved like thugs on the road and went and violated and assaulted motorists. There's trauma that's been suffered by the motorists. They were arrested. They appeared in court. There was a disciplinary process. And now the SAPS has officially acquitted all 8 of them who were filmed assaulting civilians on the N1 back in 2023. And I've been asking you if this makes sense to you. Well, it doesn't make sense to me. How is this not an insult to the victims? How is this not an expression even from the SAPS that police brutality is actually acceptable for the untouchables, and the VIP protectors clearly are? How are we even going to be confident enough to report them and take them on the next time they bully us on the road? We've invited Ian Cameron, who's the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police in Parliament, to chat to us briefly about this, and then I'm going to go back to your calls and WhatsApps. Ian, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks, Clement.
I mean, let's maybe start with how you received this decision by the SAPS. What justification have they given, if any? And if they haven't yet, because we tried to get them on the show and they told us we're still studying the report, will you be asking them to come to Parliament to explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no excuse from them. The acquittal already happened on the 7th of April. So it's shocking that they still need to study a report. It tells me that there's no central management or coordination of these types of serious cases. I found out about it because of the previous NGO that I was involved with, namely Action Society, that submitted a PIA application. They then forwarded me the letter that SAPS sent them showing the acquittal on the 7th of April. So I think it's a total miscarriage of justice. You can imagine what it feels like to these victims that had to testify in the disciplinary. You have to go and face these monsters every single time. And despite everything that's been shown to the public, they are acquitted of something so serious.
I mean, 7th of April, so they didn't even see it as a need to communicate to the public what that process that they had announced had now culminated into.
No, absolutely. You know what makes it worse is I followed up in my capacity as chair of the Portfolio Committee at least 4 times already, and every time they tell me we're still busy with the process. So despite all our follow-ups, they didn't take the statutory questions and power and oversight commitment or authority from Parliament seriously enough to at least keep us posted. So it tells me that this case didn't receive the serious attention that it was meant to receive. Interestingly enough, this specific unit, specifically Presidential Protection Services, have previously been in several controversial incidents. You remember that also Paul Mashatile's members last year, probably about December, were found to assault innocent members of the public in Khayelitsha. They were recently filmed driving into oncoming traffic. Several examples of wrongdoing. And the interesting part is every time the person that signs off on it is Major General Wally Roeder. And everyone knows about the Pala Pala issue, etc., etc. It seems that they are becoming a little political police force on behalf of certain political elites.
I mean, really looks like there is a culture of impunity within the SAPS. I mean, this violent conduct cannot be excused. These people are operating as a law unto themselves. What message does this then communicate to motorists who one day may want to take on these VIP protectors? Because part of what emboldened us as motorists when we saw at least the SAPS acting against these officers who were protecting Paul Mashatile and they were going to court was, next time we get bullied, and we get bullied a lot by these guys on the roads, is we can take them on. We can take a recording, and if they come and assault us and bully us, at least we know that there will be accountability. From how this has been handled, doesn't look like we have any.
This is pure defense of criminal conduct. There's no excuse for what they did. There's no justification. Despite anything that those drivers or victims could have potentially done, which they didn't. I was in court as well. There's no justification for what happened there. What makes it worse, and I guess it's a good part, that at least we still have the court proceedings ahead of us. This was just a disciplinary. But what makes it worse is that unions like POPCRU and the South African Police Union, SAPU, defend these types of thugs. So it means to say that they're not there anymore to look after fair labor practices. They are there to defend criminal conduct. And this is what that was. This was blatant criminal conduct. What I said yesterday in one of the interviews was that I challenged those 8 members. Take me on legally because I call them criminals. Because what they did is blatant criminal conduct. There's no excuse for the way they conduct themselves. You know, I know 2 of the victims very well because I've built a relationship with them since it happened. And it's extremely sad to see the trauma that they've had to go through this entire process. And they feel completely neglected by the South African Police Service's poor approach to solving this issue.
Oh, my goodness. Ian Cameron, thank you so much for speaking to us. And I hope, as the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, you will try to get some answers and get them to explain. Because sometimes when they're hiding from us and they're running away from doing interviews with us, they think they've escaped until they have to be called by an institution like Parliament, which is constitutionally mandated to hold them accountable, and then they have to explain themselves. I hope Parliament will be able to hold them accountable. It's just shocking, the level of just impunity, lack of accountability. And these are the people who are going to be coming to your homes now as they campaign for the next local government elections and tell you, we care about you. I mean, the Deputy President, when he sees that the officers that he himself condemned, when they behaved in the manner that they behaved in 2023, when he sees that they've been acquitted, doesn't he also ask questions and say, but why? Why? Because there's a video that clearly shows them assaulting these civilians. And that is not how they're expected to respond to even incidences where there is a potential risk. There's a process to follow. You don't just get out of your car and start, assaulting people like that, kicking them on the face. That's the country we live in. Those are the politicians we have. And these are the people who protect them. Let's go to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. Morning, listeners. I think this is shocking. And the fact that nobody is accountable for this kind of behavior just shows you the kind of environment that we are living in. It is just gangsterism on another level. And I think us, as the people of this country, need to stand up to this. One, service delivery. Not happening. No one cares. No one fixes a pothole. No one fixes the water. No one fixes the electricity. Why? No accountability and no consequence. What happens now with the police? Nothing. Stop paying rates and taxes. Let 1 million people rise up and stop paying rates and taxes and force the hand of the law to do its job.
Clement, you guys, the people of South Africa, you complaining too much. Those people are acquitted. So when you go to hearing, there are only 2 outcomes. It's either they find you guilty or you are acquitted. When you go to court, there are only 2 decisions. It's either they find you guilty or you are acquitted. So because when you, Clement, you see them as guilty, you think they must, the court should also find them guilty because you have decided that they are guilty. That's not how the law works, Clement. You have to admit to those people who are acquitted.
Clement, good morning. The biggest malaise we have in South Africa is how gullible South Africans we are. The issue with the SAPS, it goes back a long, long years. Just think of Andrew Raritsila. That guy was shot and killed in broad daylight. There were cameras rolling and everything. But how did the case end? Nobody was held responsible for it because nobody wanted to testify. So even with this one, with cameras glaring, when those boys were beaten up, everybody saw it. But now they're not found guilty because it's an issue of I scratch your back and you scratch mine. Like the previous caller said, They know more, these guards. That's why they'll be treated with kid gloves. Rob.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
10 minutes before 10 o'clock. Tsepo, you're calling from Timbisa. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not okay with the verdict that came out because in this case, it's not hearsay. The evidence was there. Everybody saw it. Even the judge, even the prosecutor. So I feel like in South Africa, if you have a fancy lawyer, if you have money, then you can get away with anything. Look what's happening with our most of our leaders, high-profile people. Where are their cases going? Nowhere. Whereby there's evidence which is there. But no, just because people can pay expensive lawyers, they can afford to pull strings there and there, then they get away with everything. So in South Africa, everything is going downhill. Instead of the country becoming better, everything is going downhill.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a tap.
Hi, Clement. Quick one. On these VIP protection officers, the last time I checked, there was a court case that was happening against them. Has that been concluded? Because my question then is, what happens if they are convicted in the court case? Then they will have a criminal record. And shouldn't this, is it not too premature for the SAPS basically to kind of like, acquit them? Shouldn't they not rather wait for the outcome of the court application? And that would then hopefully influence the internal disciplinary processes, because I wouldn't foresee a situation where the SAPS would want to still have them in the employ, these guys, if they now have a criminal record. Thanks.
Yeah, look, I mean, the court process is still unfolding, so we still wait to see what the outcome of that will be. But yeah, if the court comes out and there's some accountability on that front, the SAPS will be left with egg on their face. But either way, there has to be two processes that unfold, even in this case concurrently, because these are employees of the SAPS. So yes, there's a legal process that's underway, but the SAPS also has its regulations and how it disciplines its own employees if there are charges that they're facing. So this process also had to be undertaken. The question is, will the courts sort of come up with an outcome that is aligned to this outcome of the disciplinary hearing, or is the court going to rule differently on this? I'm just worried that this promotes this culture of accountability. It promotes violent behavior on the part of VIP protectors. Already we see how they behave on the roads. And we're not saying here that they must be weak, because they are protecting important people whose security risk is quite high. But they even know what the law says about their behavior, even in instances where there's risk that is detected. I mean, even during war, guys, there are rules of war. So even as a VIP protector, as a security officer, even when you detect risk, there are actually guidelines on how you should be responding to situations.
Hi, Clement. I hear about those police guys whom the SAPS, the report is saying, were left scot-free. But my question is, isn't that case in court? Because I was thinking the courts are the right people to adjudicate on such matters, not the SAPS. I'm confused. Please explain for me more if indeed I'm confused, because I think I am confused. I think it was supposed to be a court of law who would do that, not the SAPS. Thank you, Jabuchila.
Very good morning, Mr. Manyathela and the 702 landers. Regarding the issue of Paul Mashatile's bodyguards, all that I have to say, man, is that in this country we only have the courts to fight for us now. Only the courts are on our side. God forbid that gets infiltrated one day, then we are really on our own. I mean, the VAT issue, we were just at the mercy of the DA and whoever else was pushing that particular decision via the courts. It seems like we just only have the courts on our side now. Yeah, Anonymous here, Rosenberg.
Ray, you are calling us. Yeah, Ray, you're calling from Pretoria. Hi.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Manyathela.
Sure.
I feel that Rob, that commented, is completely wrong and is out of line. Yes, you feel like all of us, they are guilty. There's video footage. How can he say there's only two outcomes? Yes, we all know that. There's guilty or innocent. How are those guys innocent if there is video footage of them assaulting these guys, threatening them on the road, and then the Deputy President comes out and says they acted wrongly? So how does an internal disciplinary hearing find them innocent? Something is not right. And Ruere should stop his nonsense of that of no signing off. We all know he's corrupt and he's in somebody's pocket. That is clear as daylight. And the internal disciplinary hearing has got a direct influence on the court case, because the court's going to look at what happened in the disciplinary hearing and add that to their findings. And if these guys get free from in the criminal case, what does our constitution mean to us?
Ray in Pretoria, thank you for your thoughts. Anonymous here on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, in all honesty, politics aside, these policemen will do anything to protect their principal, which happens to be the whole president of the country. And funny how the same society then downplays the shooting of his motorcade. Politiki there, that's what Anonymous says there on the WhatsApp line. And Anonymous, the police have investigated and they came up with I think it was a preliminary report. So there was no assassination whatsoever. So there's already a preliminary report on that. And I think also the reason that some people were just downplaying and not believing is because the way this matter has been handled was just weird. It really was just weird, because on the one hand, the matter happens a while back and only weeks later you communicated. Like, why did you wait for so long? And then when we try to get the police to come and confirm, because it's a serious thing. If we have a deputy president who was nearly assassinated, that's supposed to be concerning all of us. And the police couldn't even confirm that there was a shooting until much later when the commissioner had to release a statement. So it's just been handled in very, very, very funny ways. Another one says, Clement, the issue with the police, in 2023, my wife and I were robbed and we decided to rush to Boksburg police station. When we got there, due to our state and shock, I accidentally faced oncoming traffic. To my defense, there was no sign that it is a one-way in for parking. A detective came and hit me on the face and then arrested me, and they proceeded to extort money from my wife. At the end of the day, we got robbed by thugs and police. That's why I never report anything. And you see, that's the kind of culture that such lack of accountability sometimes produces. It's a minute before 10.